Hey everyone, this is Jennifer, and today I wanted to do an overview and maybe a little bit of a short demonstration of some of my jewelry tools. And I also would like to tell you a little bit about how I got started and just what I was looking for when I first got started. And maybe that will help some of you. I've been seeing a lot of comments in the Facebook groups I'm in about asking about tools and how to get started, what do you need to get started, and so I wanted to make some recommendations for some things, and hopefully you can find this video useful. And if you do find this video useful, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. That helps me out tremendously with getting my name out there, and so this can help other jewelry makers. And it also lets me know that you're enjoying my content, and it lets me know what content you're really enjoying, so I know to create more of that kind of content. And if you have any questions or comments at all about tools or anything jewelry related, or if you have any questions about me in general, feel free to leave those in the comment section down below, and I'd be happy to answer them. And also hit the subscribe button. We just hit a little over 500 subscribers, and I am so thrilled. You have no idea how excited I am. And I'm just so excited to see this little jewelry making family grow. I'm hoping the comment section of my videos can also be a place, kind of a community for people who love to make jewelry. But when I first got started, I went to a gem show because I love crystals and gemstones. And I was more interested at that time in the healing power of gemstones and crystals. So that's what I was looking for, but I saw all this beautiful wire wrap jewelry, and I really had never seen it before. And I was like, I would love to do that because I developed psoriatic arthritis in my 30s, and I had to give up my career as a massage therapist. And I needed a creative outlet to do with my hands. And this gave me something that I could do, and I found it to be really helpful for my psoriatic arthritis. The copper seems to calm my hands down, and then working with the tools keeps my hands strong and also limber. So when I talk about tools, also I'm going to tell you which ones make my hands hurt and don't, for any of you that do have arthritis. So when I was first looking to just try out jewelry making to see if I liked it, I went on Amazon and I looked for the cheapest wire I could find that was copper and soft, and that wire did end up tarnishing. So now I use tarnish resistant coated wire, and it's copper cord that's soft, but that's just my preference. And I also looked for a little jewelry tool making set, and I got a pair of nylon jaw pliers because I saw people using those as a wire straightener, and that's what I still use that same pair to this day. These are the wire cutters from my original set of tools, and it came in a set of 3 tools, and it had these wire cutters. It had some chain nose pliers and some round nose pliers. And I don't know where the chain nose or round nose pliers are right now, but I did know where these were. But these were $10 on Amazon, and I do have these linked below, and I think it's listed under a good beginner set of tools or something like that. But these are really short, so after a while, I have psoriatic arthritis, so after a while I found that these really made my hands ache, and so I found some tools that were a little bit longer handled, a little bit more ergonomic, and a little bit more comfortable, and so I don't use these tools anymore. So I use different ones, but these weren't any, I can't remember if these were even any specific brand name. They just had good ratings. But this is a good set if you're just beginning and wanting to see if you want to invest into the tools. And the original set of wire cutters I have, I believe these are from Artistic Wire, are these with this purple inside. And I like these because, like you can see in comparison, the handle size right there, you can see the difference. Like these don't make my hands hurt, but these really short ones do. So I really recommend the little bit longer handled because they fit in your hand better. And like these, I will just use them and just pull and straighten my wire like that. And this is one of 2 wire straightener nylon jaw pliers that I have. I also have these that I got from Parawire, which is where I get my wire from. And I use these a lot. And these actually came with replacement heads so you can replace these when they get worn out. But these do last a long time. The nylon jaw pliers are a must, and they're also good like if you make a hook clasp for your jewelry to press it out flat. These have a lot of different uses to them. So this is something I've really been thrilled with. And then the cutters that I use, I use a lot of tools by Xuron, and I found that they make really good quality tools. And so a lot of these tools that I mentioned will be made by Xuron, and it's spelled Xuron. And I've had these wire cutters since the beginning. These actually close very, very easily. They're very gentle on your hands, and they work. And I've had these for years, and they still act like brand new. So these are really good. They are super sharp. And one thing I've learned with wire cutters is if you cut with this flat side, your wire will be flat. If you cut with this side, your wire will be sharp. So like when I'm using these, I just, like if I want to, I just cut off a little piece like that. And you see how that wire is flat, and that's because I used the flat side. But now if I was to cut it this way, which you can, and always, when you're using wire cutters, always put your hand over your wire that you're cutting off, because the wire can fly. And I have actually ended up with it in my mouth. I'm hoping you can see how it's kind of sharp. And then like this side is smooth and flat. So that's one little tip I have for you with the wire cutters. Another pair of tools that I recommend are the Tweezer nose pliers by Xuron, and these also are very easy on your hands. And these are really good to grip wire when you're doing like say a wrapped loop or something. Like these are good for bending your wire. You can make little hooks with them to make your jewelry to close by like bending up like that. You can go down into the pliers like this, and you can press things. But these are really good because they grasp onto things really, really well. And so this is something that I would say is a good beginner set of pliers. And the next pair of pliers that I recommend for beginners are these round nose pliers by Beadalon. And these have a nice handle. These also close easily. And I'm just going to cut a little piece of wire. But these are really good because you can make a big loop like that. You can make a really tiny loop if you want to, like that. You can do a lot of different things with these, and I've used these a ton. These are the first round nose pliers I got after I stopped using the first set of pliers that I had. But I really like these. They fit well in your hand. And that's one thing I really look for are the ergonomic handles and the longer handles, because I find them to be more comfortable, especially with people with arthritis. So I do recommend these. And while I'm showing you the round nose pliers, I recently invested in these fine tipped round nose pliers by Lindstrom. And these were kind of expensive, but I needed some fine tipped pliers. Hopefully you can see the difference in the tips, because the tips are very different. And I'll show you a loop from each one. Like these round nose pliers, like if I put it in the very tip and I do a loop, that's the size of the loop. That's the smallest loop I can get. But if I do it with these Lindstrom pliers and put it in the very tip, I can get this really teeny tiny little loop in here. Let me straighten this out so you can see the difference. But that's the difference in sizes. So this is a good bit smaller. This is good for more detailed, finer work, and I love this for using on my pendants that are small stones. So, and these also have this little thing in here. These also are adjustable for how far you want them to open. You can put them in like that, and they're a little bit different, but I have them just up here on the smallest setting like that. And I find that to be the most comfortable setting for me. But these are something I recommend for later on, or if you're wanting to do more fine work. I really enjoy these. And then some other pliers that I really like and recommend that I use a lot. I use these bent nose pliers a lot. And these are by Xuron. And these just have a nice little bend. They have a very narrow tip. And so these are really good for getting into really tight areas. Like if I wanted to get into this loop, I can actually get into this loop. It's good for working for pendants, for wrapping wire around. Like if I'm doing rings, I actually prefer to do this, to wrap the wire around, because I can really get in there. And I actually use these more than the tweezer nose pliers now. And then you can also use the back of them right here to make like a spiral. Like I can take this little loop right here, and then I can just use the back of it and I can make a spiral. And so these are really versatile, and these are also, all these Xuron pliers are really easy on your hands. So that's something I recommend to get, not at the beginning, but pretty close to the beginning of your wire wrapping journey. Another pair of pliers that I have used a lot are these by Beadsmith, and these are 6-step bail making pliers. And they each have these, each step is a different size. So you always get the same size loop when you're doing these. And you can do, like you can make jump rings with this. You can make your bails with this. You can just do, if you want to, like if I'm doing a bracelet and like a looped bracelet and I need to connect them to, and I need to, like if I'm doing a wrapped loop bracelet, I can put one of these in the end and I can loop it. But like you can, like if you're wanting to make some jump rings, like say if you're wanting to make some jump rings, you can place your wire in here and then you can just twist around like this. And then all these rings are going to be the same size. But if you're needing jump rings, especially in the color wire that you're using, you can make your jump rings, and then what you do is you just cut down the middle like that. And then of course there's going to be 1 or 2 pieces on the ends that you can't use, but then here I've made a couple jump rings. So I've found these really useful for a lot of different things. And then I've even made a bracelet using those. I made both of these bracelets using these pliers. And this is more of a men's bracelet and this is more of a women's. But so these pliers are really good for a lot of different things when you're making jewelry. They're not just good for making bails on your pendants. And then like if I've made a bunch of jump rings or I need to put a jump ring on a piece of jewelry, I like to use these 2 tools together. And I originally got these to make chainmail with. These are both by Xuron, and these are the short nose pliers and they're flat. And these are the chisel nose pliers and they're at an angle. And you can really, like when you're putting bracelets together or necklaces that are beaded together, you can really get in there and hold it. And I will demonstrate these in a minute with that. And I find myself using these for my pendants even. This pair right here, the flat nose, because you can really get into tight space. You have a lot of control when you're using these shorter nose pliers. Like this is one of my chainmail rings. Like if I was to put chainmail together and I need to close or open a ring, these pliers are really good for that as well, because you can twist them open. And I started out trying to use the longer nose pliers and my rings would fly across the room. So I got these shorter nose pliers and these chisel nose pliers, and they've been really great because I have a lot of control and I can close my jump rings easily with them. And I can open my jump rings easily and I can close my jump rings easily with them. And to close the rings, you just basically wiggle them back and forth until you hear that click. Now, if it's a jump ring like I just made, you're not going to hear that click, but that works the same way. Like I can get in here and I can hold just the edge of that with the tip of these chisel nose pliers. And I can open this little jump ring up and then slip it on, and then I'm able to easily close it. And I just push it together and wiggle it back and forth until it's closed. And that's how you use those. And then in a minute I'll show you how I use it in putting like a beaded necklace or beaded bracelet together. And another pair of pliers that I use a lot for when I'm making pendants are these by Xuron. And these are flat nose pliers. And these are different than the tweezer nose pliers because the tips are very different. But like a lot of my bails, I use half round wire and I wrap around the round wire or square wire. And I was using these to press it down, but I just didn't get an even press with it. And I do get an even press with these. So that's primarily what I use these for. And this isn't something you need at the beginning, but it's nice, something that's really nice to have. For bracelets, I used to take like an inch section of wire, stick it through my beads, do a little loop on one end, and I would just hope that the other end of the loop would sit right next to the bead. And it was a pain in the butt and I wasted so much wire. So one year for Christmas, I asked for an Amazon gift card and I was able to get a set of three of the one-step looper pliers. And these are really cool tools, and these have been a game changer for me when it comes to making bracelets and beaded necklaces. Like this makes a 1.5 millimeter loop, this makes a 2.25 millimeter loop, and this makes a 3 millimeter loop. And like if you were to only buy one, I would recommend getting this one. I do have a video on my channel demonstrating all the one-step looper tools and kind of the way I use them. So with the one-step looper tools, these are really cool because they have a little hole here, but what they do is they bend your wire into a loop, they cut it, and then they kind of do a little back bend on it to straighten it out. Because before, what I was doing was I would take, like when I would do a loop like this, I would then have to go back in and do a little back bend and then twist it in further. And these tools do all of this and cut it for you. So these have been a game changer when it comes to making bracelets. And I'll show you a size comparison between the loops. So when you're using these, what you do is you can stick your wire through that hole if your wire's long enough. If it's not, you can just lay your wire in here. But you just lay your wire in here down where it's flat, and then that cuts it. And I'm just going to press it down now with these pliers and make sure it's pressed together. But it cuts it, it gives it a little bit of a backwards bend, and it also makes the loop for you. But that's the 1.5 millimeter loop. And then the 2.25 millimeter loop is just slightly bigger, So I'm just going to lay this piece of wire in here and I'm just going to stick it through that hole just to show you a little demonstration of that. And then what I do is then I press it, it cuts it, and it loops it. The only thing I don't like about these is the fact that the loops don't always come out flat and they don't always close all the way. So I just grab my short nose pliers because I have the control to do this with them rather than with the longer nose tweezer nose pliers. And then I just press it flat like this, and then I just grab that loop and I just press it closed. I'll show you a size comparison of all the loops in just a minute. And typically when I do bracelets, I use 18 gauge wire, but right now I just have some 20 gauge wire out. So now for the 3mm loop, I'm just gonna lay my wire in here. Let me straighten it out just a little bit there. So now I'm just gonna lay my wire in here, and then I'm just gonna press it, and it cut it off. And this is all that it cut off for like the 3mm loop, was that just that little piece. So you have so little wire wastage with these. But then what I do is I just press it flat like that, and then I press it together like that. So this is the 1.5mm loop, which is good for like 4 and 6mm beads. This is the 2.25mm loop, which is good especially for like well, you could use it for 4mm, but especially 6 and 8mm beads. And then this is the 3mm loop, which is good for especially 8 and 10mm beads. But if you were just to buy one instead of like the set of all three, I would go with the 2.25mm because it's the most versatile. But I do like having the options for all these. But these are the 3 sizes of loops that they make. And so they're really versatile in that aspect. And then to show you a little bit better demonstration, and I have a whole video showing how I make a bracelet using the one-step looper tools, and also have a video showing just the one-step looper tools and comparing them. So I'm just going to take some little 6mm round beads. Normally I would use, for necklaces and bracelets, I would usually use 18 gauge rather than 20 gauge, just because, unless the hole is too small, and then I use the 20 gauge. But then when I use the 20 gauge, I do prefer a smaller loop. But what you do is you just place it in here and you press it together. And like that one, you can really see on this one, and sometimes you have to kind of close it a little bit and then you just lift your loop off, but you can see how it has that backwards bend in it. So then what you do is you put your bead on and you slide it to the end like that. And then you put this through this hole that's right here. You slide your wire all the way through and you get your bead up to where it's touching the tool. And then you just do that. And like that didn't close all the way for me, so I'm just going to press it closed. And then I have a bead that can be put on a bracelet. And this is all, right there is all the wire that I lost. And then I'm going to do one more bead so I can show you how I use these tools to hook it together. So now I'm just going to make another loop on this end of wire. And that's all it cut off. And if it doesn't close it, then I'm just going to press it down and then press it closed. And then I'm just going to slide my bead on. And then I'm going to put this through that hole. And then I'm just going to press this closed like that. And I could even use this piece of wire right here to do one more bead. So you can use your wire all the way down to the end to do this with these tools, which is something that I really like and something that I find really neat, and it's been really helpful because, like I've said before, it wastes a lot less wires. And then when I'm putting a bracelet together, I love to use the chisel nose pliers and these short nose pliers because I have the, like I've said, I've had the control with them. Like I can hold this one loop in the chisel nose pliers, and like once you get into bracelets when they're kind of long, you can still hold just this end with the tip of these chisel nose pliers because they hold it at an angle, so you can really get in there and just grab that one single loop. But then what I would do is I would just twist this open just enough to get a bead on, and then I slide that on, and then I just press them closed. And like if I was to add a bead on to this loop, I can just hold this loop with these chisel nose pliers, and I don't have to hold this other bead, and so that holds it at an angle. And then I just am able then to open this and add another bead onto it. And it makes bracelet making really, really fast. But these are tools, these would be even great for a beginner. So I highly recommend them. So to start, in regards to pliers, I recommend a wire cutter, some round nose pliers, these tweezer nose pliers, and a wire straightener. This is basically what you need to start. And you can do a lot with just this. And then of course you need some wire. And I do get all my wire from Parawire because it comes in all sorts of colors and it's coated. And like this looks like copper. This is copper and it's just coated, and it will, so it's tarnish resistant, and some of it's non-tarnish. And so I really like that wire. But then something else that I have found really useful, and these are really, really cheap on Amazon, is this little set of files. And it has two of these bead reamers right here, which you can use to open up the hole of a bead if you need to enlarge the hole. And it also has this file, so you can file off a piece of wire if you have a sharp edge. And then like this file or this file, like if I get like a tiny little area, say on the back of like one of my pieces of jewelry, say I get like a really sharp little edge from where my pliers kind of nicked it, what I would do is I go in like with this tool, and what I would do is just file, and like with these pointed ones I can really get in here. You could do it with this one. It would be hard to do it, but you could do it with this one. Or you can get in there with this, or you can get in there with just this really, really tiny little file, and you can just sit there and file until it's smooth. This is one of my necklaces, but you can just sit there and you just go into it. I used to use a nail file, and that's one other thing I recommend to keep around when you're doing wire work is some sort of nail file. I actually recommend glass nail files because your nails will break and chip. So I do recommend that. This little file set right here costs like, I think $5.99 or something. And I've had this since I started, and I think they're diamond chip is what they're called. But this little file set has been really good. And then when I'm reaming beads to open the hole up, I use both of these files. When I'm reaming beads, I use a combination of those real thin files along with this tool, and this is by Beadalon, and this is an electric bead reamer, and this has, I'll show you another purpose for this as well, but you just stick your file in here and it will spin it for you. So let me get this stuck all the way down there, and you just put this in there. And I have used this tool so much, I love it. But then you just spin it, press the button, and it runs on batteries, and then it spins and it opens the bead for you. And so this is really, really helpful. And then something else I recommend And this is something I personally like to do. It's not a necessary step to do, but it's something I like to do to finish off like a bracelet or a necklace or something that's going to be touching somebody's skin especially, is I will use this little wire rounder right here. And basically what you do is you just come in here on the end of the wire and you just put your wire in there and you just twist it back and forth until that wire is rounded off. And you can get a really smooth edge, but my hand got really tired, and also sometimes the wire would poke into my hand. So this Beadalon Bead Reamer, and I always keep these little bead reamer things in the package because I don't want to lose them, because I will lose them. So I just always keep those in there. But there's also this little tool, a cup tool like this for the electric bead reamer, and it's just this little tool. It has a little cup on it, and you can use 18 and 20 gauge wire in here, and you just stick it in here, and then you just do this. You just run it, and I'll show you. You just run it, and I just kind of move it around. And like if I find a place that's sharp or anything, like when I've run my finger over it, like I feel that's sharp, what I'll do is I'll press this in, press up on it. And I'll just kind of press the wire in different areas. And just to make sure I rotate around every edge. And now that's nice and smooth. Let's see if I can get that in. And now that's nice and rounded, and it's nice and smooth. And then you don't have to worry about that scratching somebody if it does hit their skin. But when I'm storing these, I always keep a little wire rounder cup in here because it's so small. And then I keep these little bead reamers actually in the package. You could also put it in a plastic bag or something, but I do that to keep up with them so I don't lose them, because I will lose them. Now, if you're going to be making a lot of jump rings, you can also get this little set by Beadsmith. And you can just wrap your wire around them, and these have all different levels of wire. It's not as easy to use as this. This is actually a lot easier, but you can get a little bit finer wrap around here. But you just hold your wire on there, and then you just rotate it. Like you just hold it, and then you just wrap your wire around that area. But I don't find myself using these that much. I find myself using this the majority of the time if I do need to make a jump ring, because I find the pliers to be a little bit easier. To store my pliers, I have this Beadalon acrylic rack, and I'm able to store all the pliers that I use. And like, let me go ahead. Like I just put them on like this. And like I'll put my looper tools in the back. You know, I try to put like what I use the most towards the front. Like I'll put my wire straighteners in the front. I mean, there's no wrong way to do this. But my looper tools, they kind of sit more at an angle on here because of these springs in the middle. But this keeps my tools more organized on my desk, and also keeps them really handy. And you can see how it holds all my pliers. And like this little area down underneath it, I like to stick in my little tools that will roll around. I stick those in there, and then that keeps everything organized for me on my desk. So that's something that I highly recommend getting. It's not real expensive, but it does keep your tools in order. And so I really have enjoyed this since I got it. For some of my jewelry, like when I make my wire rose bracelets, and here's like a link for a wire rose bracelet, I will actually, there's a dowel set and it has all sorts of different sizes of wood dowels for jewelry making. And I will use these. I use this one specifically for the wire roses, but these have been really handy, and they're real lightweight and they're really easy. Like you can turn in your hand for when you're twisting or whatever. But I do use these for, especially for, this is the main thing that I use these for, but you could make rings on this even. And then one last thing I have for my pliers is this stuff called Thingamajig. And I don't have any of my pliers dipped in it right at this moment, but what you can do is you dip your tool in there, and then it helps prevent marring and scratching on your wire from your tools. And I got this on Amazon, and then it's recommended, from what I've read, like this is the new one, to once you open it, to keep press and seal or saran wrap over it and then put the lid on to help keep it from drying out. But this is good for helping to keep your tools from getting marred up, and it lasts a long time. And then for ring mandrels, I actually have two. And the first one I ever got, it came in a set with the ring mandrel. It came with these ring sizers, these metal ring sizers, and it came with this hammer. And the ring mandrel has US sizes on this side, and it goes up to size 15, and it goes down to like a size 2. And it also has these little divots in it that holds your wire into place when you're making your ring. And then you slip your bead kind of nestles into this little groove. And then this hammer, you can easily hammer it. And this is a non-marring hammer. It won't mar your wire up, but it does kind of work harden it. And this side is a little bit more rubbery, it's still hard. And then this side's more plasticky. But it's both they're both hard, but it doesn't mar your wire up whatsoever. But it does harden it and stretch it, and it helps you get down to a little bit larger ring size. And then these little ring tools are great to like put in your kit if you're traveling, if you were to do a craft show and you want to make some rings right there. You can size people with these, and so this is really nice to have on hand. And then my main ring mandrel that I use is this one right here. And you can see the numbers in person real easy, and you can feel them, but it's harder to see on there in the light. But this is stainless steel, and it's super heavy. I think this one must be aluminum because it's really light. But this one is really good, and I actually have a stand I can actually put on my desk and screw this into to hold it in place if I want to. This right here is my bench block, and it has a rubber. I got this from Parawire, and it has a rubber thing that it sits in, and then this is heavy steel. And then this is my chasing hammer that I got from Joann's Fabric. But I'll see if I can find one of each of these and link them in the description below. But like what you do with this is this side is for more texturizing your wire, and then this is for flattening it. So what you do is you just hammer it like that, and now I have actually flattened that piece of wire out, so you get a different texture. And then if I wanted it to have more texture, what I can do is I can take this little ball part and I can do like that. And then that gives it kind of a hammered, you can really see the hammered texture. So this side you can see is smooth and flat, and this is the side that I did with the little ball part, and you can see it has a nice little texture to it. And like when I've made, and that's a good way to work hard and clasp, like your hook clasp. Then this necklace, because I wanted a different texture on these links, I actually hammered all of these out. So these are all flat. And they're also very hard to bend. So it does strengthen it and work hard in your wire. And so that's something you can do with it. I don't use this a lot, but I do use it. But I don't use it mostly because I have migraines. Now this doesn't make a lot, this hammer doesn't make a lot of noise, but that's what I use for when I need to hammer something out. And then I also do something called Kumihimo. This is the round Kumihimo open braid, and I filled it with beads. And you can use these with like cord, or you can use it with wire, and I just do it with wire. And then of course you buy the Kumihimo ends to put on there. And then you have a really cool open braid, and it's just a really neat effect. But to do that, I use one of these round discs, Kumihimo discs. And then if you wanted to do a flat braid, and there are a lot of different patterns, I have books on it and stuff, but to do a flat one, you use one of these discs. And so those are fun to work with when you get more into working with wire. Something else you may want to keep on hand for when you're doing wire weaving is I get this Nexcare tape, and it's this really thick foamy tape, and you can get this, I got this on Amazon in a 6-pack because I do a lot of wire weaving, but you can get this also like at Walmart or CVS in the first aid aisle. But I just wrap it around my fingers, and it prevents me from getting rubbed raw from the wire or from getting blisters. And and also protects my nails some. So I really recommend doing something like this to protect your skin when wire weaving. So that's something, another thing that I use. And then I also have this little ring weaver tool from Beadalon. And I don't have one I can show you, but it comes like this, and it comes with instructions, and you can do these really cool woven rings. And you can make, and it comes in different sizes, several different sizes. It comes in a size 4, 6, 9, and 11. So a small, medium, large, and extra large. And you just use the different holes for the different sizes. And so, but you can make these really, really neat woven rings. And they have really good instructions with it too. So you just put them in and slide them in like this, and then this little groove will actually stop it from going all the way through. But you just do that with all of them. And then after you get all your little posts in, then you put this on the bottom to hold them in place. And then you can actually do a woven ring using this. And it's really fun to play with, and I've made some really pretty rings doing that. But Beadalon has a lot of really good tools and really good things, and I do enjoy this. I haven't played with a lot, but I do have used it some. And every time I use it, I enjoy it. And then for storage for a lot of stuff, I keep it in a bag for stuff like this, or I keep it in the box. And then there's also this Bracelet Jig by Artistic Wire. And it has all these little pegs in it, and these little stoppers on the other, that you put on the other side. And I keep them, you store them down in there, but this little plastic part will come off. But you stick this peg in here, like you stick some pegs in there, and then you put this on the back of it to hold it, and then you put this little clear thing on the back to hold it in place so that it won't fall out. And then what you can do is you can wrap your wire around it, and you can make all sorts of designs for bracelets. And then of course you can make like a hook closure or whatever at the end, and you can make all sorts of, you can add beads into it like with wire. If you'd like me to do a tutorial using this, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. And it comes with a nice set of instructions, which I really appreciate when things come with instructions. And then I also have from Bead Landing this thing. It's called a Thingamajig. But I do have a wire jig, deluxe wire jig, listed down below in the description, because I actually got this at Michael's. But basically what it is this little plate with all these holes in it, and it has these little feet on it, so you just set it there. So it gives you patterns in here of all sorts of things you can make out of this. And basically what you do is kind of like with the bracelet jig thing, is you put these in here, you put these little pegs, and then you wrap your wire around it. And these have like some small pegs, these have some kind of medium size, and then some large size pegs. You can make ear wires on here, you can make all sorts of designs, you can hammer out your designs, and there's really a lot you can do with this. So these are just some fun extra tools that I have. But if you're just starting out, if you're wanting to do wire weaving, definitely get the Nexcare. I recommend having a ring mandrel if you're wanting to do rings. And then a ring sizer if you're wanting to do festivals or craft shows. You might want to have the ring sizer. I really recommend starting out with is the nylon jaw pliers for wire straightening, the cutters for your wire, because you're going to need some wire cutters, some sort of tweezer nose pliers, and then some round nose pliers. And I recommend longer handles that are more ergonomic and more comfortable in your hand. I recommend a ring mandrel so you can do different sizes of rings for people. And you will also definitely need a ruler. And I just bought a set of 6 of these because I'm always losing my ruler. And I'm not going to get this out, but this is by Artistic Wire. It's a coiling gizmo. And you can coil your wire and actually make your own beads with wire, and you can also make components to go around or on to use in pendants. There's a lot you can do with this, and it comes with all sorts of different sizes of things that you can put your wire on, so you can get different wraps. And it's really super easy to use, and you just connect it to your desk with this little part or table, and this is fun to use. It does use a lot of wire, but this is a lot of fun because, like you can see here, there are some beads that people have made on here, and I've actually made one more like that. And it just depends on how many times you coil it. It comes with all these little rods to put your wire on, and then it has that little piece that connects, that your rod goes through and that connects to your desk. And I also was telling you about the thing I put like my ring mandrel on to connect to my desk is this. I'm not sure what it's called. I'll see if I can find it and link it below. But you just you connect it to your desk with this little clamp, and you just rotate that to get it to fit. And then you have this little ball part that your ring mandrel can go on, and then this little thing right here, and this little thing right here can loosen it so your ball can move around and you can get it to the position you want it in. And then what you do is you just do that, and it tightens it. And this is really good. And this has been real helpful with making rings that are like more wrapped, like roses and stuff. This has been really helpful for me. Oh, and one other thing I recommend for if you're going to do wire weaving is getting some sort of spring clamp, and you can get these at Lowe's or like Home Depot. but like this is really hard. And this, like if you're gonna do a bracelet like this with a bunch of wires, then you're gonna wanna have this initially to hold your wires into place. And it won't, and because it's coated with rubber, it won't damage your wires. I'll see if I can find this and link this below as well. But you could probably find it at a hardware store. But I think I got this off Amazon for a few dollars. So that's another tip for wire weaving. But if you have any other questions about anything, like how I store my jewelry, any tips that I have, let me know and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. If you have any questions about any of the tools, let me know. And I hope you found this video helpful and useful with kind of navigating the tools. And just slowly start out with those 4 things that I told you, and then work your way up from there and just add on slowly, because that's what I've done, because the tools get expensive. And so I just added on to my tools slowly, and just over time got a bigger collection of tools. I did the same thing with wire, and I've found the wire that I really, really like, and then I found chainmail rings that I really like, and Yvonne Williams is who I found a lot of that stuff from. She's the one who told me about getting the pair of wire and also getting where to get my chainmail rings. And I use the chainmail rings as jump rings in my jewelry, but she's been a really good help, and she's been a huge help when, like, I've asked about tools. She's answered my questions, and so I highly recommend checking out her channel as well, because she's extremely good at making jewelry, and she makes everything look so easy. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful and helpful. Please let me know in the comment section if you have questions about absolutely anything that I mentioned, and I will do my very best to answer your questions. And don't forget to hit the like button if you found this video helpful. Check out all the tools in the description below, and use that kind of as a guide to go by for your tools as well, of what tools are good, because there are some tools that I have that I didn't mention because I don't like them, honestly. And so I listed everything. I've told you everything that I use and that I really like, and I just wanted to be completely open and honest about that. But I hope you all subscribe, hit the bell notification button, hit the like button. Lets me know you enjoyed this and found it helpful. And I will see you in my next video. And let me know if you have any requests for videos, and I'd be happy to try to make something. As long as it's something I know how to do, I'd be happy to do that for you. So anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day and have fun making jewelry, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.